2 on this primetime stage. And tonight, Seattle poised to put all the pieces together for their stretch run. On the other hand, Carson Wentz hasn't had much luck against Seattle, 0-4 and knocked out of last season's playoff loss. Wentz, pushing through his worst season as a pro, comes into tonight leading the NFL in turnovers and sacks.
He is the worst pick in Eagles history.
I have never seen a clearer example of somebody who needs to be benched.
This team is broken everywhere.
The game is over and it's a tie. Are you thrilled? I'm not.
I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off at myself. I'm pissed off at the way we played. It frustrates me to no end.
We are where we are because of the mistakes that we've been making.
You can't make this up. The way this team has shot itself in both feet.
Are we playing as good as we can as a team? No. Am I playing my best football? No.
Wentz, he swings it out. It's intercepted. It was a poor pass by Carson Wentz.
Carson's our draft pick. Carson's the guy to lead this football team.
I'm going to stay aggressive. I'm not going to change who I am, but I can just, protect it better.
Carson's our guy. Bottom line, end of story.
And Steve, Doug Peterson suggested to us in meetings over the weekend that he can simplify things for Wentz, get it out of his hands quicker, get him into a rhythm, more tempo. What do you think would help Carson Wentz?
I think Carson Wentz is eminently capable. Actually, I think he's over capable. And that's the problem, or a big part of the problem. He's a guy that can do too much. And he's also got a personality that wants to carry it all. Oh, I don't have any linemen? No problem. I can make up for it. Oh, I don't have any receivers? No problem. I can take it up. I can make up for it. Here's a couple plays to give you an example. This is elite athleticism from a quarterback position. Look what he does to try to extend the play, to try to create. And we want all our quarterbacks to be able to do this today. And he's a guy that never gives in, never gives up, and then does something completely stupid. Like, what? That is like the epitome of trying to do too much. What are you thinking about? Here's another one. Tremendous. To his left, squares his shoulders. I'm going to make a big throw to win the game or to try to do something big. It's like, no, that is just a terrible decision. I believe I can coach that out. I think he can be coached out of that. Look at this elite throw. Step up, find the third guy, drop it in perfectly. Carson Wentz is completely capable. I remember when Bill Walsh called me in when I was trying to replace Joe Montana. And it was very similar. I took on the world. I can overcome it all. And he says, stop it. You're taking on too much. You're not allowing your teammates to be accountable. You're not putting it on them as well. And in you trying to do too much, Superman, all you're doing is you're playing poorly, and everybody else gets to stare and gets to watch you instead of them picking up the pieces as well. So Carson Wentz is, look, I think it's really smart what you just said, Susie. He needs to be made simpler. He's trying to do too much. Simplify it for him so he can't try to do so much. He can't overperform. In my mind, that's the secret to get him back on track. I am a believer in the future of Carson Wentz. He just needs to get this figured out.
Steve, I told Peterson about that conversation that you had with Bill Walsh, and he said he has had similar conversations with Carson, and he wants him to know he doesn't want him to wear the Superman cape. He also said, you look back, his first year, they drafted Wentz, and they are attached. Good, bad, the ugly, and they're going to fight their way out of the struggles together. But Adam, with that said, what is the future there in Philadelphia for Peterson and Wentz?
Listen, the more a team loses, especially in a year where the Eagles are trying to be gifted the NFC East, there has never been an easier division to win than this year's NFC East. It might take 6 wins to win that division. I can tell you the great NFC East teams from the 70s and 80s, they're looking at that and laughing. And even with 6 wins, the Eagles are struggling to get there. In a city like that, with a team that has struggled the way this one has, if this team doesn't win the division, just like it is the case with any other team, there are changes. So who is going to be sacrificed? Because somebody is going to go if they don't win the division.
Well, when you look at what Doug Peterson's done, he's bought himself a little time with a Super Bowl championship, obviously. But that man right there, Howie Roseman, is not going to sit around for long because he's not going to rest on his laurels. As it pertains to Carson Wentz, he's not playing well. When you make 32 or when you average $32 million a season, you're expected to carry a certain burden in the franchise. You should be the solution and not the problem. And Carson Wentz has been the problem. And we all, again, very similar to Tom Brady, we want to make excuses. Well, it's the play caller. I get it, Randy, and I'll give it to you from a weapon standpoint. He doesn't have some of the weapons that these other quarterbacks have, but he's not playing well. Okay, Brian Griese showed a clip earlier when they brought the blitz off the corner. The hot is in the flat, and he didn't throw it. That's a quarterback that's making $32 million a year on average, and he can't make the simple throw. And I truly understand that he needs more weapons. Jalen Reagor and those guys need to step up, but I need to see more from Carson Wentz.
You know, and I agree with when you have a quarterback coach in Doug Peterson being able to simplify the offense for a young Carson Wentz. You know, tonight is the night where Carson Wentz needs to prove himself. You got a young quarterback that they drafted in Jalen Hurts taking some of his reps. He's not going to admit to us on national television that they are sharing reps. But tonight, he needs to prove that he's the guy for the Philadelphia Eagles, regardless who he has. Yeah, Zach Ertz, you have guys like Sanders, they have been out. But I think when you look at what Brian Griese put on the tape, the wide receivers, the pass catchers need to create more separation. But I think one guy that he's missing over that middle, he's going to miss tonight. He doesn't have a security blanket, and he hasn't had that for a few weeks. So I think it's up for Coach Doug Peterson to be able to simplify this offense. And for the pass catchers right there, mainly one named Alshon Jeffries, to be able to create a little bit more separation and being able to bail your quarterback out at times. As you can see, he's trying to make plays with his feet, steal those yards that we always allude to. Tonight, a guy like Alshon Jeffrey, he's the number one target for a guy like Carson Wentz. At home, he needs to high point all his balls and come up big for this offense.
And to Randy's point, there were reports this week that their second-round quarterback, Jalen Hurts, was taking more reps with the first team. And Peterson disputed that. It may just be more of a case that they do want him to pass the ball more. Maybe it looked like more reps because he was passing the ball more.
Look at one player today, Susie. And I said, was it any different this week than it was in other weeks? And he said it was exactly the same the last 5 or 6 weeks where Jalen Hurts has taken some reps during practice. The one difference this week was that there were plays in which Jalen Hurts took snaps and threw a pass where Carson Wentz was not on the field, whereas in the last 5 or 6 weeks, they were on the field together. But it was no different in terms of the number of snaps that Jalen Hurts took this week compared to other weeks in the last 5 or 6 weeks.
Well, and just to add to that, let me say this. I get the whole Jalen Hurts conversation. I love him. He's a project at best. He's not the answer. I don't care how many snaps Jalen Hurts gets during the week. Carson Wentz is still the best guy for them if they want to win this division.
Carson Wentz is starting tonight. Carson Wentz is starting going forward. He's their quarterback.
Exactly.
And Adam, let's touch on maybe the most important thing here for Carson Wentz is that the offensive line has been in shambles. Tonight will be the 10th different offensive line combination.
And listen to this, Susie. Last week, Jason Peters played left tackle, but he did so with a dislocated, broken toe that needs surgery after the season. He couldn't move at the position, which I think contributed to the fact that he gave up 2 sacks. So tonight, the Eagles will move him to guard, where he doesn't have to rely on his movement as much. They'll move Jordan Mailata out to left tackle. Peters will be at guard. It will work better with the toe injury that he's playing through, and they're hoping that provides Carson Wentz with some of the help that he needs on the offensive side of the football.
Keep an eye on that offensive line tonight against a Seahawks pass rush, which seems to have found itself coming into Week 12. And speaking of Week 12, as we send it over to the guys, it is the Week 12 edition of You Got Mossed.
Appreciate that, Susie. Book, one question for you. What is the expectations for a true freshman? High school or college? Give it to me.
Shut up, show up, and keep up.
Well, I want to send a shout out to all the true freshmen out there, man, trying to play for varsity. Let's start off this week's top 5. Texas high school football freshman Brian Wesco Jr. goes up and takes the ball away from the defender. Hey, I don't know what you was doing all week, Mr. Wesco, but boy, you got on our segment. You keep doing your thing. Hey, Mansfield Summit High School, you got moss. Mr. McFarland.
Here we go. Chiefs at Buccaneers. Patrick Mahomes throws down the sideline. Tyreek Hill goes
that the
over.
cheetah?
Yes, that is cheetah. Mimi, he goes over Carlton Davis. Carlton Davis, this is not your fault. I don't blame you. I blame Todd Bowles. Carlton Davis, you got moss. Let's go to number 3. Raiders at Falcons. Long trip. They didn't show up, but guess what? Derek Carr goes deep to the rookie, Henry Ruggs. Ooh. He went over A.J. Terrell. That was not a touchdown. A.J. took Terrell. This ain't Clemson, buddy. This ain't Clemson versus Alabama. This is the NFL. A.J. Terrell, you got balls.
Boy, I see you, Ruggs. Number 2, Chargers at the Bills. Josh Allen throws to Gabriel Davis on the left sideline, who jumps over Tavian Campbell. Boy, hey, Tavian Campbell, you better not get up there with them little hops and then you going to put your one arm up there. You on our segment, Mr. Campbell. You got Moss. Last but not least, boy, a big play in North Carolina Notre Dame game. Sam Howell throws it to Emory Simmons, who catches it over Tariq Bracy. Hey, man, y'all blew my Twitter feed up for this. Hey, Tariq Bracy, that was a great catch. The Tar Heels keep it up. Hey, Tariq Bracy, you got Moss Book.
Hey, that was a great game. Notre Dame won, might be the best team in the country. Shout out to North Carolina. Mac Brown, he building something down there. That was a heck of a catch, though.
I like it, but Miss Culver, back to you.
Love it. Fun as always, Randy. Still coming on Monday Night Countdown. One-on-one with Danger Russ. His obsession with the process to be the